Nordic.
Ski season is ramping up, especially in the Rockies, but one popular ski facility is not opening in Colorado, at least for now.
In the Colorado ski town of Telluride, the slopes are closed indefinitely. Last week, the 78-member Telluride Professional Ski Patrol Association voted to go on strike as they hold out for higher wages. They want a 3-year contract and a median wage increase of $8 an hour. The cost of living in Colorado ski towns has skyrocketed while wages have remained flat. The median cost of a home in Telluride is over $3.8 million. The Telluride Resort says it will be shut down until it comes up with a plan to safely open again. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Anthony Joshua, the British boxer and former world heavyweight champion, is in stable condition in a hospital after a car crash that killed 2 other passengers in Nigeria today. That crash occurring on a major thoroughfare near Lagos. Joshua had earlier this month beat YouTuber turned boxer Jake Paul during a fight in Miami. Authorities say that they're trying to crack a case dealing with a $500,000 worth of lobsters that just vanished. The lobster load from Massachusetts was bound for several Costco stores in Illinois and also Minnesota. Officials with the freight company that are handling the lobsters say thieves used fake IDs to pose as truckers and even stole the crustaceans that the FBI is also now investigating. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
CVS Health supports people in the moments that matter, from picking up a prescription to connecting care. With nearly 5 million daily interactions and serving 185 million consumers and 1.5 million healthcare professionals, CVS Health holds a trusted place in healthcare. By simplifying care and improving health, we're helping people get the care they need. Learn more at cvshealth.com/investor day.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
4:05, good afternoon. I'm Will Feelright with your KBNU local news as we're heading into KBNU's For the People show, enjoying some sunshine. Yeah, it's still a little cool out there, but looks like we've got some warmer temperatures coming. Well, Weber State University is inviting the public to participate in its presidential search following the departure of Brad Mortensen, who was named president of Utah State University earlier this year. Now, a 9-member search committee announced that it is going to be hosting both in-person and virtual input sessions next month. Now, the goal is to gather feedback from students, faculty, and community members to identify a leader capable of advancing the university's mission of affordable, high-quality education. Now, Javier Chavez Jr., a co-chairman of the search committee, said that input from the campus community and the public is essential as they work to identify the right leader. Now, the in-person session is scheduled to take place January 12th at Lindquist Hall, and that'll then be followed by virtual meetings coming up on January 15th. Meanwhile, Leslie Durham currently serves as interim president while the committee is preparing to post the official job opening. Meanwhile, a bizarre story playing out in northern Idaho. A gunman armed with multiple weapons was killed last Friday during a standoff with law enforcement after he opened fire inside a northern Idaho Sheriff's Office lobby and a nearby vehicle. Now, the suspect, identified as 77-year-old John Drake, began shooting at a pickup truck outside the Shoshone County Sheriff's Office in Wallace at around 2:40 in the afternoon. He then entered the lobby of the sheriff's office and fired toward the dispatch center. Now, 3 people sustained minor injuries. 2 women in the pickup truck were shot in the legs, while a police officer was injured from flying glass. Now, initial reports had suggested the gunman had reached the jail, but officials later confirmed that he remained in the lobby. No inmates were harmed. Drake was pronounced dead at about 4:15 following a SWAT standoff that occurred with multiple agencies. That shooting is now under investigation. And finally, Utah shoppers can now support local food pantries and animal rescues during trips to state liquor stores. It's all a part of a statewide holiday donation drive. Now, all 52 state-run stores are participating in the initiative, which runs through the end of February. Now, in a localized approach, employees at each location have selected specific charities to support, ensuring that donations stay within the immediate neighborhood. Now, Erica Evans, who's director of the Department of Alcoholic Beverage Services, credited store employees for managing the collection and distribution process, saying that she's grateful for the employees for their care and commitment to their neighbors. Now, the program began in 2023 following a call for community service by Governor Spencer Cox. Now, due to its initial success, the department established a drive as an annual tradition now. Well, we're going to continue to see clear skies through the rest of the afternoon and into tonight as temperatures been in the mid-30s today. Tonight, we're going to drop into the low 20s, high teens, and then be back into the mid to low 40s for tomorrow and Wednesday. We'll start to see a chance of some rain coming in on New Year's Day and into Friday, and it looks like we could even see some moisture continuing into the weekend. And weather this hour brought to you by Mountain Valley Heating. You have just a couple days left to save up to $7,000 on government tax credits and rebates available for new furnaces, but you have to act before the end of this year. So your first step is to call Mountain Valley Heating at 753-5170, or you can also go to their website, mountainvalleyhvac.com. And I'm Will Feelright. I'll have another check of your local news coming up at the bottom of the hour.
Roof Rescue is your local roofing specialist, dedicated to keeping your home safe and dry no matter the weather. Their team of experienced roofers is here to serve you, providing top quality service at affordable prices. From minor repairs to complete roof replacements, they've got you covered. Remember, your roof is your first line of defense in protecting your family from the elements. So don't wait until the next storm to discover your roof problems. Call Roof Rescue today at 435-999-4268. They're your trusted local roofing experts, here to keep your home safe and dry. Roof Rescue, celebrating 10 years of providing watertight peace of mind.
Where news and talk comes first. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Do you suffer from consistent symptoms like these, and no matter how many doctors you see, things don't improve?
I definitely had fatigue and unexplained weight gain, brain fog, my joints hurt, and I just didn't feel like me. The last couple of years, I just had doctors telling me, oh, you're over 40, we can put you on prescriptions, and I just knew that wasn't what I wanted.
In a conventional model, it's typically one size fits all. Everyone's herded around like sheep and treated the exact same way. When they come to Red River, it's important to customize the treatment plan for that specific patient.
Talking with Dr. Swindlehurst, I just immediately felt like he was listening. He had a plan for me individually as a human being.
Our whole goal is to identify the underlying mechanisms driving your condition. Then we'll put a treatment plan together that's specific to you, and then slowly teach you and educate you and show you what to do and what not to do, so that you're the expert in your own health long term.
Call Red River Health and Wellness at 855-55-RIVER. Call Red River today.
KVNU's For the People with Jason Williams and Bill Walter.
And it is Utah known as the fraud capital of the world. Not because we have more people committing fraud, but because we have so many people falling for it.
Going beneath the headlines and connecting you to the newsmakers.
The radio is a great way to get the word out to a lot of people in an emergency. So we thank you for your help and being a partner with us.
For the People on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM, online at 610kvnu.com, and on the KVNU mobile app.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. I'm Jason Williams. It is Monday, December 29th, coming up on the New Year's holiday. And similar to last week's schedule, with only 3 days of For the People, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday this week, we will, like last week, visit with Andy Morgan of AndyAtTheMovies.com for the For the People movie show all through the show tomorrow. We'll be recapping 2025, looking ahead at 2026 and more. Last week we caught up, finally. Andy was able to get here early enough. We got through the remainder of the 2025 movies we hadn't talked about yet, but there are a couple more that opened after the show on Christmas Day. So we'll talk about those and then again look back on the best and the worst of 2025, what's coming up in 2026. On Wednesday's show, Charlie Schill will join us for our final For the People Theater Hour of the year, and then we'll spend the remainder of the show on Wednesday with my favorite thing. We'll do some of it today on the show, too. I've got that many lists. I love New Year's lists. It's especially in the, now it's a little less pleasant in politics these days than it may have been 10 years ago. but it's still a nice reminder of everything that happened in the year, some of it not so nice to remember. But also you have the best in books, you have the best in music, the best in movies. It's my favorite thing to do. So I've got some lists for you today, but we'll really get into the New Year's lists, top 10s, and et cetera, on the second hour of Wednesday's show. So there's your rough lineup for the program this week. And sticking with, our general non-holiday content, I wanted to recap a bit of what we've talked about with the legislature getting into their general session in a couple of weeks. Things we know that their feelings are still hurt by the state Supreme Court and a judge for telling them they have to be honest with voters and last year, and then this year telling them they have to follow the Constitution. The legislature's feathers are still ruffled that there are rules. So we know that there will be some retribution. We've seen some of it already. A bill passed last year that allows the governor to appoint a Supreme Court justice when a vacancy arrives. This is something traditionally the Chief Justice would nominate a person. Now the state Senate still had to confirm, and that hasn't changed. But they switched this. Now the governor nominates the someone, and so whatever. But one of the interesting things being discussed right now, and surprisingly has been endorsed by Governor Cox, was something that Democrats were talking about in the Biden years. There was a lot of pressure on Joe Biden as president to get behind and therefore, assumedly getting Congress behind expanding the Supreme Court. This was in direct response to Donald Trump getting to appoint 2 people on what was already a 5-4 conservative court. It was a 4 conservatives, 4 liberals, and a swing vote that traditionally, or more often than not, went conservative. So, of course, Trump got to appoint 2 people, changing the balance of the court quite a bit. And so people were saying, on the left, were saying we should expand the Supreme Court. And a quick aside on that, people were acting like it was, like just undoing of America to even suggest this kind of thing. No, the court has changed size over the years, and there is a pretty sound argument that as the country grows, as the challenges grow, that more than 9 is probably a good idea. There was also a sub-push to do away with the lifetime appointment aspect of the Supreme Court, and there were a lot of different proposals thrown out there. But again, the reason I bring this up is that when it was being proposed by the left at the federal level, many Utah lawmakers and the governor were absolutely appalled at the mere suggestion that you would meddle with the courts for political reasons. Now here we are. They've lost consecutive lawsuits going back 2 summers in a row now, one over ballot D, or Amendment D, if you remember that, in 2024. The state Supreme Court basically said that the ballot language that the legislature wrote themselves for the proposed constitutional amendment on the ballot in 2024 was deceptive. That's an exact quote. Another exact quote from a justice is, voters wouldn't even know what they were voting yes or no to. This is so misleading. That's, so egg on the legislature's face for that. And they had to basically, the court ruled Amendment D moot, even though it still appeared on the ballots. Any votes wouldn't be counted for anything. So that's where things kind of started. And then, of course, this summer, the redistricting rulings, there were multiple that didn't go the legislature's way, basically because voters passed the Prop 4, the independent redistricting ballot initiative in 2018. Legislature has their hand slapped a couple of times for ignoring it, basically. A judge and the state Supreme Court backing that judge up basically ruled you can't just ignore voters. They have a constitutional right to craft law through the ballot amendment or ballot initiative process. You have 2 choices. You can either eliminate that option from the Constitution, or you can listen when they craft law through that option. You don't get to just ignore it, which is what the legislature tried to do. So they're mad. And their response, because they have, a few other options, they are appealing the final ruling, which basically, following the rules spelled out in Prop 4, created a very safe Democrat district. The Democratic Party will win what is going to be known as District 1 in 2026. And, yeah, the numbers will all change around for our congressional districts. It's basically Salt Lake City and a bit of Salt Lake County around it. But it's like D plus 20. So there's going to be a Democratic member of Congress, or a member of Congress from the Democratic Party representing Utah again. Not unheard of, Ben McAdams, and for a long time Jim Matheson before him, but it's been a few years. And of course, the Utah GOP is they're paying out-of-state signature gatherers to gather signatures for a repeal of Prop 4 passed by voters in 2018. Based on the numbers collected so far, it doesn't. Well, they've got until the end of February, so this could change. But the numbers that they've turned in so far, the Lieutenant Governor's office, doesn't look promising that repeal question will be on the ballot, which again reinforces the idea that this is what voters wanted: an independent redistricting panel to draw the maps every 10 years, not the legislature thinking of their own reelection concerns. So all of that brings us up to the proposal that Governor Cox has endorsed, which, again, it surprised me most that he endorsed it, which is to expand the state Supreme Court. Let me first say I'm not, even though, I'll point out this is happening for political reasons, and we should all be nervous when there are, political reasons for meddling with the judiciary. Not a good idea, right? It's an independent branch. It should stay independent, and the legislature or even the federal government, Congress, changing the rules every time they get a ruling they don't like. You don't have to be a political scientist to see how messy that gets, and quickly. That said, one of the reasons I'm kind of in support of this idea of expanding the state Supreme Court is that, one, we have a pretty small court, and the state is growing. Two, it opens a can of worms that I think needs to be opened, which is increasing the number of representatives in our state House and Senate. We've had the same number of representatives for about 30 years now. The state has grown enough that I think you run the risk of state House representatives like Representative Snyder. Well, so let's use Cache Valley as an example. Representative Snyder, I think his district, probably going to be a while before there are too many people there for him to do justice to his constituents by being able to, be engaged with them, respond to them, take their calls. On the flip side of that, the seat that is currently held by Representative Jason Thompson, former mayor of River Heights, replacing retiring State House Representative Dan Johnson, of course, a couple of years ago. That seat is getting close to where it would be difficult for any one person to really be responsive to their constituents. Now, whether we're there or not, I don't know. And the legislature would and should get to decide how to define that. But I think in a lot of parts of the state we're there. So again, Cache Valley, I'm not sure if we're there yet. Parts of the Wasatch Front and definitely a lot of Salt Lake and Utah counties, they need more House reps and they need more state senators. So I like the idea of opening that can of worms by the legislature saying, let's expand the Supreme Court. Let's add people to the Supreme Court so there's a higher number of justices. Because at that point, they've signaled a willingness to look at this stuff. And I really think that we need to start having the conversation. Again, I don't know if we're there yet, but I know that we've had the same number of House reps and state senators for over 30 years now. And the state has grown quite a bit and is continuing to grow. And so I think we need to start talking about whether our legislature is large enough. And again, keep in mind the purpose of a state representative is to have someone who goes and while the state, as a legislative body, while they're crafting policy for the state, they get to be the voice of your local area, which can affect transportation funding, water projects, education funding, and more. So it's an important thing, and if you get too many people living in one district, what happens, California had a problem with this over and over, actually, and they've had to expand many times. You get to a point where the state, the single representative, he or she can't, just physically impossible for them to be in enough places, at enough events, or accessible enough for everyone in the district to have a fair opportunity to talk with them or influence their legislation or put ideas in their minds for them to consider for legislation. And that's the whole point of this. So I like the idea. Many people do not at all. In fact, some lawmakers were critical of leadership for endorsing the idea, and for Governor Cox last week saying that Governor Cox had a tweet last week saying he liked the idea, he wanted to talk about it, he thought maybe it should happen, and also he's taking a break from Twitter and encourages everyone else to take a break from social media for a couple of weeks. It surprised everybody. I thought he would be against it. He usually is let's not change big things kind of guy. But Governor Cox said if the legislature goes there, he would likely support expanding the Supreme Court. What do you think? 753-5868. On the other side, a first in Utah, but probably not the last. And it's something that's making farmers and those who understand the value of water rights very nervous. A first that is geared at rescuing the Great Salt Lake that's not sitting well with some people. But it's going to come up during the legislative session and probably get more funding to expand the program. We'll talk about what it is right after this.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
Who do you turn to if you want to change out your wood or pellet stove? Advanced Fireplace and Stove. They were voted the gold medalist for Best of Northern Utah for the 5th year in a row in the fireplace retrofit category. Be ready when the government's next wood and pellet replacement incentives pop up. Advanced Fireplace can help you navigate the paperwork. For more information, call Advanced Fireplace and Stove, 752-7272. Online at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
Merry Christmas!
From Murdoch Chevrolet.
From our family to yours.
Thank you for an amazing year. This season, we're celebrating you.
And giving back with great savings and holiday cheer. During the most wonderful buy of the year.
During the Red Tag sales event, lease a new Silverado 1500 for only $399 per month.
When you walk through our doors, you feel like family.
At Murdoch Chevrolet in Logan and Woods Cross and online at murdochchev.com. Chevrolet, together let's drive.
Call 888-391-6080 for your dealer for complete details. Offer expires 1/2/26.
We've got exciting news. High and Tight Fencing won silver for fencing in the Best of Northern Utah. To our loyal customers in this incredible community, thank you for trusting us. We're proud to help protect what's yours with quality fencing.
Hi, it's Olivia Munn with my shelter pets, Frankie and Chance, reminding you that when you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the Humane Society of the United States, and Maddie's Fund.
Looking ahead at the upcoming legislative session, just a few weeks away, along the lines of water, of course, we're going to see a lot. But specifically, a lot of people here in northern Utah, especially those in agriculture, are keeping a close eye on bills aimed at helping the Great Salt Lake. Everyone, well, not everyone, but everyone, I think, who has done their homework agrees that the Great Salt Lake is in trouble, and it would be a pretty big deal if we lost it. There's plenty of room for debate on how urgent this is. There's plenty of room for debate, of course, on what we do about it, what would work and what wouldn't. But it's not up for debate on whether it's in trouble. With that in mind, we're going to see, as we have for every session for 5 years in a row now, we're going to see a slew of bills. Some of them, as with the last 5 years, are going to be great ideas. Some of them are going to be more in the lines of what are you thinking ideas. So keep an eye on that, especially if you're in agriculture or concerned about the future of agriculture. On the 26th, the day after Christmas last week, there was an announcement made by the state that has farmers kind of nervous. Even though the announcement had nothing to do with farming other than one farm, it's the first in a state, and it's the first time we've officially gone in a certain direction when it comes to water rights, water shares, and the idea of using less. The story, Fox 13 News has the full write-up here I can link to on our Facebook page if you'd like to see the video and photos of the farm. But the short version of this, a man named Bill White has officially agreed to the first of its kind agreement with the state to help the Great Salt Lake. And the agreement is basically that White and the family, his family, who run and own the Huntsville, this is the monastery farm. If you're not familiar with it, Google it. It's large. It's the Trappist Monastery Farm is the official way to find that on a map. But last week, news broke that the week before, actually, White and his family had inked a deal with the state, specifically with the Great Salt Lake Watershed Enhancement Trust. This was created by the legislature a couple of years ago for this very purpose. And again, none of this is on White. White is just taking advantage of a program the state has put in place through this Watershed Enhancement Trust organization they created. And he's going to lease about 650 acre feet, roughly, a quarter and a third of the, so just over a quarter of the water rights the White family currently holds for the entire Trappist Monastery Farm over there in Huntsville. It's a pretty big deal. And what it means is basically the family, the owners of the farm, will lease the water rights to the state, and then the state will just sit on them, meaning that's more water that's going into the Great Salt Lake instead of being siphoned out along the way for crops and farms. And in exchange for that, taxpayers, the state, will compensate White for his water, and then in exchange for that, he opts not to grow crops on certain portions of the farm. And the idea behind this is it's not forcing anyone to do anything. This is voluntary, similar to the open space program here in Cache County. You have to go to them and make a proposal. They don't call you up and say, hey, we'd like you to not grow stuff on your farm, and in exchange we'll pay you a little bit for your water shares that you're not using during the years you're not growing. They don't do that. This is basically someone goes to the state instead and says, hey, I think I can do this. So White and his family, with this large farm in Huntsville, went to the state and said, we can free up about 650 acre feet of water, and we can let these fields and those fields go fallow for a year or two to save that water and still keep the farm afloat, still make our money, and then that's additional water going to the Great Salt Lake instead of being used for crops. The state then pays, and so White said in an interview with Fox 13 News, he said, it's our farm, and it's like every other farm. We have some ground that's really good, and we have some ground that's not very good. The ground we're talking about here is very rocky. It takes a ton of water to grow anything, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to put double the amount of water in the area to grow the same amount of alfalfa. So instead, send the water downstream. Specifically, it will go straight to the Pineview Reservoir, but it's still conserved water. It's water that didn't get used before it hit the reservoir. And then the Weber Basin Water Conservancy District, they keep track of how many acre feet in the Pineview Reservoir are coming from this program or from water shares that are dedicated in one way, because there are private endeavors that are doing this too. There are people out there buying water shares to own them and sit on them. And so the Water Conservancy District, the Weber Basin District, they keep track of this, and then they make sure that amount of water leaves the Pineview Reservoir and heads straight downstream to the Great Salt Lake. It's a good idea, and it will probably have a decent amount of impact once more people start getting involved. But it's making farmers nervous. White said this is a win for farmers. It's also a win for the Great Salt Lake. I'm all on board. We're excited about it. And the Great Salt Lake Watershed Enhancement Trust, again, created, it was about I think it was a $30 or $40 million a couple of years ago. The legislature put aside and said, let's try this out. Let's see if buying water rights and sitting on them is something people are interested in. And again, this is the first official inked deal that the legislative created body, the Enhancement Trust, has actually signed. Now, this is contractual. So White didn't say how long this will go on, whether it's permanent or not, in his interview with Fox 13. And the deal itself will not necessarily be made public. It might, but there's some debate over that as well. Certain contracts with the state can actually be held somewhat private to protect the individuals involved. But for the most part, if the state's spending taxpayer money, they have to show the taxpayers where it's going. So I'm assuming some part of this contract is probably going to make its way into the public eye. But right now, we don't know if White signed a permanent deal or if it's for a few years, and that doesn't really matter. If the deal has an expiration date on it, then so does the taxpayer expense. So either way, we're good. Why is this making those in agriculture nervous? I get it. Historically, under Utah water law, if you don't use your entire allocation of water, then you lose it in basically a default forfeiture. And this is a way. So White says, persuading agriculture producers has been pretty hard. He's talked to some others in agriculture, and he said he gets it. They're hesitant. They're worried about this because if you give them up, you don't get them back, right? So he said, I'm not sure if word has gotten out, but that law has now been changed with this program. And so that if you participate in this program, you can lease the water to the Great Salt Lake, and that counts as a beneficial use. So you don't actually forfeit the water rights. You're leasing them, not selling them. And he said that's a big misconception that's behind some of this apprehension in the agricultural world. Again, the apprehension because in the past, if you didn't use it, you lose it. So now with this new trust that's been created, you can lease it to the trust permanently for 10 years, for 5 years. It depends on each specific contract that's signed. And then when that expires, or if you change your mind and solicit to renegotiate the contract at your own expense, of course, you get the water back. It's not the way it used to work, White says. So, but again, a lot of apprehension out there, and I've seen some of the reaction online and off to the announcement of this deal. One farmer in the Weber County area saying this is the end of farming in Utah. I'm not sure I agree, but I definitely understand the concern because we're playing with things that ain't never been played with before. Water rights. As the saying goes, two things guaranteed to cause a fist fight, whiskey and water. It's like gold here in Utah. And people are nervous about some of these things. But the White said he wants to assure everyone, based on his experience working with the state and this Great Salt Lake Watershed Enhancement Trust, that it is an above-the-board process. It's going to work out well for his family, and this was land that was always hard for them to use anyway, so they'll just use about 650 acre-feet of water less, and that water will then make it to the reservoir and eventually the Great Salt Lake. And basically the same amount of money that they would have gotten growing crops on that land will be guaranteed to his family. He's a happy guy. Check it out. I've posted some video of the farm itself and the land he's talking about, but expect to hear more of this type of thing in Utah. And again, it's crossing the Rubicon in agricultural communities. You don't give up your water rights, and now people are being asked to voluntarily do so, even on a temporary basis. A lot of farmers are saying, nah, but Mr. White wants to encourage everybody to do what he's done. I've posted a link to the story on our Facebook page, and we'll be back right after this look at the news with KVN News. Will Feel Right.
Well, thank you, Jason. Funeral services for President Jeffrey R. Holland will be held coming up Wednesday at the Tabernacle on Temple Square in Salt Lake City. Now, Holland, who is the president of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, died last Saturday at the age of 85 from complications related to kidney disease. Now, the service is scheduled to take place from 11 to noon on Wednesday, with being open to the public for anyone over the age of 8. Now, President Dallin H. Oaks will preside, while Elder Quentin L. Cook, who was a longtime friend of Holland, will conduct the services. Now, the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square will provide music. Now, a native of St. George, Holland served as an apostle since 1994 and was a former president of Brigham Young University. He'll be buried in St. George alongside his wife, Patricia, who passed away back in 2023. In other news, an Ogden man is now facing multiple felony charges after detectives discovered several homemade bombs in his home while investigating anti-Semitic threats that were posted online. Skylar Rose was booked into the Weber County Jail on 7 counts of possession of a weapon of mass destruction, among other charges. Now, Ogden police began investigating after threats appeared on X from an account claiming that the user wanted to blow up a synagogue. Now, investigators traced the post to a residence where they recovered 6 operational metal pipe bombs and 1 partially assembled device. Now, a search of Rose's room also uncovered an assault rifle and marijuana. Now, Ogden Police Chief Jake Sub stated that Rose appeared to be acting alone and there was no ongoing threat to the community. Now, Rose is being held without bail pending a pretrial hearing. And a local woman from Orem gave birth to a healthy baby boy in a very unconventional location, underneath a Christmas tree at the Health Orem Community Hospital. Now, this happened right about perfect timing, too. Karina Largo had arrived at the hospital early on Tuesday morning about 3 o'clock when she realized that she would not make it into a delivery suite. So nurses assisted her laying down by a decorated Christmas tree where she gave birth to a 6-pound, 12-ounce little boy named Jackson. Now, mother and baby are both doing well. Largo, who described Jackson as being an unplanned gift, said that the delivery was the easiest of her 3 children. Now, staff confirmed that both mother and baby are doing well. In celebration of the unique arrival, the hospital says they're gifting the Christmas tree to the Largo family. You put a little bow on the baby, and yeah, takes care of Santa, doesn't it? And weather going to call for clear skies as we head into the overnight hours tonight, as temperatures are going to be down into the high teens to low 20s. Tomorrow, a little warmer as we're going to enjoy sunny skies, temperatures in the low 40s. We'll see mid-40s coming on Wednesday, and then a chance of some showers beginning on New Year's Day, and that's going to continue into Friday and the weekend, hoping that that means more snow up at Beaver Mountain as opening day coming up on Wednesday for season pass holders, and then the general public invited to come up Thursday for opening day as well. And it's Napa Auto Parts that brings you our weather on the 6s. Now's a great time to take advantage of their Blue Heat Ice Melt, just $10 a bag. Plus, also, you can grab the Chemical Guys car wash and detailing kit for just $49.99. It's at Napa Auto Parts, 5 locations from Preston to Providence. And I'm Will Feelright with your KVNU local headlines.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The fragile ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas holding up aside a few skirmishes. President Trump welcomed Israel's prime minister to his Florida estate for talks on phase 2 of the peace plan. President Trump making it clear on what he says Hamas needs to do.
There has to be a disarming of Hamas.
The president and Israel's leader also discussed the re-emerging threat of Iran's nuclear program. Following his one-on-one meeting with Ukraine's President Zelensky yesterday at Mar-a-Lago, President Trump's optimism about a peace deal with Russia turning to frustration. That after Russia accused Ukraine of attempting a drone attack at Vladimir Putin's state residence, something Ukraine's president denies. Authorities in Texas continue their search for missing 19-year-old Camila Mendoza Olmos, last seen Christmas Eve morning near her home in San Antonio. Police say they've received new dashcam video showing the missing teen rummaging through her car and say that's the last she was seen. This is ABC News.
This is Dr. Paul Daines at Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology. This time of year is filled with wonderful sounds, from music and family parties to an I love you from a grandchild. Don't miss any of these special moments. Let us help you or a loved one with a plan to improve your quality of life through better hearing. Visit us at 485 North Main Street in Logan or call to make an appointment at 753-4327. That's 753-HEAR, or find us at cachehearing.com.
Bringing Wall Street to Main Street. From your local experts in downtown Logan, this is the Adams Wealth Advisors Market Report.
Good afternoon. This is Mitch Green with Adams Wealth Advisors. Stocks started the week on a weak note as we approached year end. With little macroeconomic data available, today's market action is likely attributable to year-end rebalancing or profit-taking. The Dow Jones Industrial Average slid 249 points to 48,462. The NASDAQ dipped 0.46% to 25,526, while the S&P 500 declined 0.35% to 6,906. The pullback is largely attributed to the technology sector, although it did not experience the biggest downside compared to other sectors today. Its heavy weighting in the major stock indices made its pullback more meaningful than that of other sectors. The consumer discretionary sector, however, was the biggest loser of the day, down nearly 1%. Consumer staples, utilities, real estate, and energy, those traditionally safer sectors, posted gains for the day. Treasury market rallied, with the U.S. 5-year Treasury yield declined by 3 basis points to 3.67%, and the 10-year yield declined by 2 basis points to 4.11%. Cryptocurrencies did not fare any better, though their declines were much smaller than their own historical pullbacks. Bitcoin dipped 0.75% to nearly $87,000 mark, while the Ethereum declined by 0.62% to near $2,900 mark. The assets with the largest pullbacks today were gold and silver. Gold pulled back 4.38% to $4,350, while silver retreated 6.89% to $71.88. Pending home sales data released today for November showed a much higher increase than expected, even higher than the October release, highlighting stress in the housing market as sellers remain unwilling to lower prices. Tomorrow, we will see the release of the Chicago Business Barometer, the S&P Home Price Index, and last but not least, the Federal Reserve December FOMC meeting minutes.
That's your update from Adams Wealth Advisors, guiding your financial future one day at a time. For personalized help planning yours, reach out to us at 435-752-1702. See you soon, Cache Valley. Advisory services offered through Adams Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor. For important disclosures and more information, visit adamswealthadvisors.com.
Join us each week for music and the spoken word, featuring the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, the longest-running continuous weekly network broadcast in the world. Each episode features modern and traditional arrangements of spiritual, classical, and contemporary music and a timely, inspiring message. Truly an uplifting program that will have you returning to each week. Music and the spoken word with the Tabernacle Choir.
Sunday mornings at 8 and again in the afternoons at 6 on News Talk KVNU.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. One of my favorite things about the end of the year is the lists. I'm a huge year-end review list person. I don't know why. It's just fun for me, but some of them aren't as fun. So I'm getting this one out of the way early. We'll spend some more time on this tomorrow, of course, with Andy Morgan joining us for a 2-hour movie show on a Tuesday, since there will be no show Thursday and Friday. And we'll do a top 10 and worst 10 list for 2025 in movies. This list, though, it's important, but again, not one of the happier, funnier lists. This is a list of people that we lost in 2025. Now, of course, recently there have been some big names in the public sphere, and of course, probably the biggest here in Utah is Elder Holland. Of course, earlier this year in the political world, there was turmoil after the assassination of Charlie Kirk right here in Utah. So there's Robert Redford is another one that I think most people knew we lost this year. But this is, I think, a list of people that, because I'd forgotten, honestly. I was going through, putting this together, and some of these, it seems like a long year, but some of them, I'll be honest with you, I never heard about, but they're names that you'll probably recognize. So just a quick list of people who we lost in 2025 that maybe flew a little bit under the radar, or maybe it's been long enough, because one of them was, unfortunately, January 1st of 2025, just a few days under a year ago. Wayne Osmond, at the age of 73, died from a stroke on New Year's Day. Fourth oldest child in the 9 Osmond kid family. He was the singer and guitarist and actually co-wrote the biggest songs for the Osmond Group, Crazy Horses, It Never Snows in L.A., and he passed away January 1st. Another one from the music world, the lead vocals behind folk trio Peter, Paul, and Mary, Peter Yarrow, passed away at 86 on January 7th of this year. That was another one that kind of flew a bit under the radar. And finally, from the music world, high tenor, the high-pitched voice of the 60s soul duo Sam and Dave, Sam Moore, died January 10th of this year. And that's one I hadn't heard about. Being a film nerd, I'd heard about this one. I'd forgotten that it was this year. David Lynch, weird filmmaker, Twin Peaks, Mulholland Drive, and other things like that. Died from complications of emphysema earlier this year. Gene Hackman, this is one most people probably heard about because it was just a tragic scenario of two-time Oscar winner Gene Hackman, one of my mom's favorites. She'd see anything with him in it. Was found dead alongside his wife, Betsy Arakawa, inside their New Mexico home. Hackman was 95. Arakawa was 63. And this was after a weeks-long investigation. Autopsy reports found both died of natural causes, Hackman of a heart attack, and about a week apart. But they believe that what likely happened is Arakawa passed away first, but Hackman had some serious dementia issues and wasn't aware that his wife had died, and then he died a week later. One of the greats in the soul world, Roberta Flack, most famous for, I think, Killing Me Softly with his song, or The First Time I Ever Saw Your Face. Those are two that most people know. Passed away at age 88 back in February of this year. There were quite a few in the music world. Richard Chamberlain, this is another one I'd forgotten about. He was in the popular, I think, I didn't know this, but his first ever big burst on scene was the 1960s medical melodrama, Dr. Kildare. But he was, I think most people knew him more from the Three Musketeers, Towering Inferno, things like that. He was one of the greats. He passed away at age 90 this year. A surprise to most people, he'd sort of disappeared, coming and going in independent films and smaller films since some of his huge roles in films like Top Gun and Heat, but Batman Forever. But Val Kilmer, at the age of 65, passed away. He was he died of pneumonia, and his death was preceded by a very prolonged battle with throat cancer. So a sad story there. And then, of course, a pop culture staple, Norm from Cheers, George Wendt, American actor, died in May age 76 from cardiac arrest. And Norm, Norm doesn't need an introduction. Sly Stone, that's another name from this year, died in June of this year. Brian Wilson. I don't think this one flew under the radar, but I'd forgotten it was this year. Creative force behind the Beach Boys, of course. Well, the force of the Beach Boys. Died in June at age 82. And also from the acting world, back to that, Michael Madsen, staple of independent films, Quentin Tarantino films, passed away. Malcolm Jamal Warner, Theodore Huxtable on The Cosby Show, died a surprise death in Costa Rica. He accidentally drowned while swimming and got caught in a strong current. He was only 54. And again, probably two of the biggest, I think, that from the outside of Robert Redford, of course, from the pop culture world. Hulk Hogan, age 71, died in July of cardiac arrest. And then more recently, Ozzy Osbourne. Also late July, Black Sabbath frontman, and just, I don't know, a very recognizable voice, right? Everybody knew what Ozzy sounded like. He passed away. What made his death, I think, what caught my attention, I knew he'd been sick. I didn't know he was that sick. But he did, just briefly before his own death, he did a goodbye concert, a farewell concert. And he said, basically, he couldn't stand. He was seated in a big they made a big throne for him with bats on it and things like that. But he all he could do was sort of, tap his foot while he was singing. And his voice wasn't quite what it was. He suffered from Parkinson's and a very untreatable coronary artery disease that slowed him down quite a bit at a young age. But his family said that it was with more sadness than mere words can convey that we have to report that our beloved Ozzy Osbourne has passed away this morning. They released that statement on July 22nd of this year. And just about a week before, Osbourne had this farewell concert. And he said at the farewell concert, I'm not what I used to be. I can't sing like I used to, but I wanted to give fans one more, because who knows when it will be the last one. And then finally, the two that I did remember, but worth mentioning, of course, this was a surprise. D'Angelo, this guy was only famous for like one song, but everybody knew it. And he was only 51. Died with a very short battle with pancreatic cancer in October of this year. Diane Keaton died in October as well. Oscar-winning actress, died of pneumonia at age 79. And Jane Goodall, the gorilla lady, as most of us knew her growing up, if you were an 80s or 90s kid. World-renowned primatologist, credited with humanizing the gorilla to the extent that she alone was able to save their habitat, which was quickly being decimated. Created the Jane Goodall Institute. Passed away 60 years she did that. She passed away October 1st at age 91. And finally, back to the music world, Kiss's Ace Frehley was another one that we lost this year. So just a handful of people you maybe forgot. Everyone knew about Rob Reiner. That was recent. Elder Holland here in Utah, of course, President Holland here in Utah, of course, and then Robert Redford. There were some big ones, but those are a handful of the names this year that myself, at least, I'd either never heard about or had forgotten about. So check it out. There are a lot of these lists out there, but I posted my own to our Facebook page, and we'll be back with, well, more lists right after this.
For more than a century, S. Needham Jewelers has been repairing jewelry and watches in Cache Valley. We do all our work on premises, and you may even talk directly with our expert technicians. We also have today's state-of-the-art equipment, including a laser welder that will repair jewelry with precision. We guarantee our work and offer competitive prices. So whether repairing your precious wedding ring, sizing a ring, or simply changing a watch battery, come to Utah's oldest jewelry store with today's newest technology and repair. S. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block at the sign of the clock.
I love living here, where we get to enjoy all 4 seasons. But I'll be honest, I don't love cold weather. We used to have drafty cold rooms in our home, no matter how high we cranked up the thermostat. So I called Cardinals Insulation. They inspected our home, found where the heat was escaping, and added insulation. It even lowered our energy bill. If your home has cold spots, drafty rooms, or your heater never seems to shut off, call Cardinals Insulation at 755-5012. That's 755-5012. Or look them up online. Cardinals Insulation in Logan.
If you're listening right now and your furnace is older or you're building a home next year, Tyson from Mountain Valley Heating and Air is here with a message, and that's not to leave money on the table.
Exactly. This is your last chance before the end of the year to secure nearly $7,000 in rebates and tax credits on brand new equipment for next year.
And these are ultra-efficient furnaces that you're installing, like 95% above, right?
They're actually 99%. They are the top-of-the-line equipment. But what's interesting is with the rebates and tax credits, they're actually $1,500 to $2,000 cheaper than just a basic system.
So if you're thinking my furnace days are numbered or you're planning a build or a remodel, right now is the time to act.
Yep, your last chance to get all of it is December 31st, 2025. But if you act now, we take deposits. We can install at any point next year.
So your first step is to go to mountainvalleyhvac.com or call 753-5170. That's 753-5170.
I'm Mike Gavin in for Gordon Deal. Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News. Frustrated lawmakers are looking to reclaim some of the power they've lost to Trump's White House this year. We'll tell you what they're planning. Plus, why most big companies aren't planning on hiring in 2026 and are looking at keeping things status quo. And why, for so many people, cash is still king. That and more Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News.
From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
Coming up in hour 2 of today's show, food insecurity. Getting a lot worse in Utah, but specifically in some areas. We'll talk about why a recent report suggests that's happening, why, the where and the why of food deserts, as they're known. That's coming up in hour 2, and more lists, of course. I'll have a few more, but wrapping up hour 1 here with just a one entry list. A listener asked last week what I thought was we were talking about, some of the funny social media trends this year. I've been a defender of some of the dumb TikTok trends this year. But a listener asked what I thought was the dumbest. The dumbest actually came just last week. In fact, local authorities are asking people to please don't do this. But it's the door kicking trend. It's a TikTok thing. They film themselves going up on a porch and just 3 of them at one time kicking a door, causing property damage, scaring the daylights out of the owner. And a good way to get shot, too, on someone's front door is to look like a home invader, right? Just absolutely boneheaded. But a lot of the other ones have been funny. We'll talk about some of the funniest social media trends. But someone asked what I thought the funniest moment of the year was on social media. And I don't think anything can beat the Coldplay Kiss Cam thing. For listeners not familiar, it's a Coldplay concert. The Kiss Cam was going around the stadium, capturing people, spontaneous, all that stuff. Unfortunately, one of the couples they got he was cheating on his wife. And when that guy literally dives down onto the floor to avoid being way too late, dives to the floor to avoid being seen on the Kiss Cam. And yeah, it was way too late. And she just stands there. She doesn't know what to do. But he literally dives, and it's too late. Everybody saw his face. His marriage is over. Sad for him, but probably one of the funniest moments of the year for me. So we'll talk more about some of the big social media trends and news items of the year as well in hour 2, right after this here on KVNU Logan.